He didn't cry. He didn't falter or stop to collect himself. There was no visible crack in his voice, no outward display of the emotion people expect when something deeply personal surfaces. And yet, the moment the camera lingered on his face, something shifted. It was faint, almost invisible, but impossible to shake. Viewers felt it instantly. Across the fandom, the same realization surfaced at once: Sam Heughan was hurting. The moment passed quickly, so quickly it almost slipped by unnoticed. Sam remained composed, answering with calm precision, his posture upright and carefully controlled. But his expression told a different story. His words suggested steadiness, yet his face refused to agree. There was a tension in his jaw, a pause in his eyes, a look that did not belong to someone who was fine. Fans immediately began replaying the clip, slowing it down frame by frame. Listening no longer mattered. Watching did. The corners of his mouth never lifted, even as the conversation lightened. His eyes flickered for a split second, as if brushing against a thought he wasn't prepared to confront on camera. What made the moment so powerful was not what appeared, but what didn't. There were no tears to explain away, no trembling voice to attribute to fatigue. There was only restraint, measured, deliberate, and heavy. To many, it felt like watching someone actively choose silence over honesty. Within hours, social media filled with comparisons to Sam's earlier appearances. Fans unearthed old interviews where laughter came easily, where emotion flowed freely, where his face mirrored openness and ease. Placed side by side, the contrast was impossible to ignore. This was not the same expression, not the same energy audiences had grown accustomed to. Something had changed. Then a single name began surfacing again and again in the comments. Katrina Balf. She was never mentioned in the interview. Still, fans felt her presence lingering over the moment. Theories emerged suggesting that whatever Sam was carrying had less to do with the question asked and more to do with something unspoken, something connected to her. Longtime followers pointed out how often Sam's expression subtly shifts when Katrina's name comes up, even casually. His voice remains steady, but his face hesitates, as if navigating territory he cannot cross. This time, no question was needed. The reaction appeared unprompted, raw in a way that caught viewers off guard. As the clip spread, psychologists and body language analysts added another layer to the conversation. Some noted that emotional suppression rarely shows itself through tears. More often, it appears as rigidity. A face that refuses to move. Eyes that blink just a moment too slowly. Signs of conflict held tightly beneath the surface. Fans seized on those interpretations, feeling validated in what they had instinctively sensed. What unsettled them most was how universal the reaction seemed. People from different backgrounds described the same feeling using nearly identical words: sadness, restraint, unresolved emotion. When perception aligns so completely, intuition begins to feel less like projection and more like recognition. Entertainment media hesitated to frame the moment as anything beyond speculation. Officially, there was nothing to report. Yet unofficially, the clip refused to fade. With every rewatch, the sense grew stronger that something deeply personal had surfaced for a brief second before being carefully buried again. By the end of the day, the conversation had shifted. It was no longer about whether Sam cried. It was about whether his face revealed more truth than he ever intended. After the clip went viral, attention drifted away from what Sam said and settled entirely on what followed. Viewers noticed the instant the camera cut, when his expression dropped for a fraction of a second before control returned. That fleeting lapse became the most replayed moment, dissected far more than any spoken answer. It felt like watching someone lower a mask just a moment too late. Fans began mapping that expression across a much longer emotional timeline. They revisited older interviews where similar micro-expressions appeared and vanished just as quickly. In those moments, Sam had usually redirected with humor. This time, there was no joke to soften the edges. Context mattered. In recent appearances, Sam had been professional and present, yet noticeably restrained. The warmth was still there, but layered beneath something heavier, composure built over unresolved emotion. Almost inevitably, the discussion circled back to Katrina Balf. Not because of anything new she had said or done, but because the emotional shift aligned too closely with moments when her name hovered nearby. Fans recalled how Sam's demeanor subtly changes when conversations drift toward shared history. The connection felt implied rather than invented. Online forums filled with long analyses attempting to explain why the moment felt so personal. Some believed it was grief for a chapter closing. Others thought it was the burden of protecting something unfinished. What united every theory was the conviction that the emotion was real. No one accused him of acting. Another layer emerged as fans considered the cost of constant visibility. Being watched leaves little space for private processing. Many argued Sam's restraint wasn't avoidance, but survival. Holding emotion back on camera can be an act of self-preservation. Body language experts echoed this, noting that emotional truth often leaks through involuntary reactions, a fixed gaze, tension around the eyes, a jaw held too long. Those signals rarely appear without cause. As days passed, the clip stopped trending, but it never disappeared. It resurfaced in edits, compilations, and late-night conversations among fans unsettled by its silence. The lack of any follow-up only intensified the effect. Silence became part of the story. Some urged caution, warning against reading too much into a single moment. They pointed to fatigue, pressure, or unrelated stress. Yet even those voices admitted it felt different. It lingered in a way misinterpretations rarely do. What kept the moment alive wasn't a demand for answers, but a sense of recognition. Many fans said they had seen that expression before, not on Sam, but on people in their own lives. The look of someone carrying something they cannot lay down in public. That familiarity made the moment personal to thousands of strangers at once. Eventually, the discussion shifted from speculation to empathy. Whether Caitríona was connected no longer mattered as much as the truth that something genuine had slipped through. Fans stopped asking what happened and started acknowledging what they felt. The moment became less about gossip and more about shared human intuition. No confirmation ever came, and perhaps none was needed. Sam never cried, never explained, never corrected the narrative. His face had already spoken. And sometimes the quietest moments say the most. Even now, that brief expression resurfaces in conversations long after the headlines have faded. Fans reference it not as proof, but as a feeling they cannot fully explain away. It remains unresolved because nothing was ever said aloud. In its silence, it continues to ask questions. For many viewers, its lasting impact lies in what it revealed about vulnerability under constant observation. Sam Heughan didn't need tears to communicate emotion. Katrina Balf didn't need to be named for her presence to be felt. The story endures because it reflects a truth audiences recognize. Sometimes the face tells the story long before the heart is ready to speak. That unresolved tension, between what is shown and what is withheld, is why the moment still lingers, quietly refusing to be forgotten.